In this video, I'm breaking down everything you need to know about how to search for a house in France, from how real estate works, to the hidden costs, the best websites to use, and how to reach out to a French realtor, in French. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Eva and I make videos about travel, building a short-term rental hospitality business, property hunting in France, becoming an interior designer, and pulling together these varying interests into a viable creative business. If that sounds interesting to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified about any upcoming videos. Today I'm sharing with you what I've learned about how to search for a property in France. I've been on one house finding trip and I have another one that I'm starting to plan for the spring of 2025. But as a disclaimer, I am not a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or a professional in that field at all. I'm so happy to share with you what I've learned, but please keep in mind that it is not comprehensive. So make sure to consult with your own real estate agent, notary, property finder, accountant, and mortgage broker during your search. First lesson is that real estate works differently in France. There is no central MLS or place that you can see every listing of every property for sale. Furthermore, different realtors can represent the same property, so you might see it listed for different prices on different real estate agencies' websites, or a property might be exclusively listed with a single agency. There are also generally no buyer's agents in France, though some will act as such for foreign buyers. Instead, there are seller's agents that generally only show you properties that are listed with them, though occasionally if a property is listed by their agency by another agent, they may step in and show that property to you. On top of this, France has a fairly active for sale by owner property market. There are also auctions of properties and there are listings of properties for sale by notaires or notaries, and we will talk about them in a minute. A notable thing about the French property market for those of us coming from Canada and the United States is that there are no bidding wars. The listing price is generally the price, and if you offer it, the seller, as I understand it, is obligated to sell you their property at that price. In fact, people generally offer under asking in France, though of course there are properties in areas that are more competitive where it might behoove you to pay what the listing price is so that you are guaranteed to get the house. Another thing that I find really buyer-friendly about the French property market is that once you've made your initial offer, there's a 10-day cooling off period where as the buyer, you can think about it and decide to pull out of the deal with no financial penalty to you. If you see a property listed as under offer or sous compromis, this means that an offer has been accepted on this property and now they are in their closing period that is approximately 3 months. They keep these properties listed, but unless something goes wrong with the deal, it won't come back on the market. When it comes to the price you see listed on French property listings, that will typically include the agent fee, but make sure to read the fine details of the listing in case it doesn't. However, the price listed doesn't typically include the notary or notaire fee. The notaire is a public official who is empowered to conduct all the legal parts of the real estate transaction. The notaire's fee is not typically included in the listing price of French properties, and it's usually around 6.5 to 8% on top of the listing fee. Approximately 1 to 2% of that actually goes to the notaire to pay for their services, but the rest is typically government fees and taxes. Foreigners technically can qualify for a mortgage in France, but it's a bit tricky to get this through the bank system. However, there are specialty companies that specialize in helping foreigners secure loans for buying property. So if that's something you want to look into, make sure you do that ahead of starting your property search so you know what your budget is. A lot of foreigners, though, avoid this by buying their properties outright in cash. Another option you might consider if you already own property here in North America is getting a home equity loan against your house and using those funds to purchase abroad. The second lesson I have for you is about what websites to use and how. Because there is no central MLS in France, finding listings takes a little bit more legwork. There are some aggregator websites that are geared towards foreigners and they pull listings from different agency websites. And then there are some aggregator websites that are geared towards the French buyer. And then finally, there are the individual real estate agency listing websites themselves. Some of the aggregator websites work by agencies submitting their properties to them, so they might not always be up to date if an agency hasn't gone in and changed the status of a listing once it is under offer or once it has been purchased. However, these aggregator websites will always list the real estate agency that is representing that property, so you can just get that name of the agency, Google their own website, and go search for it there to make sure that it's still available. I've put together a free cheat sheet for you that features my favorite websites for searching for homes in France, including aggregator sites, but also those sites of specific agencies that I find feature properties that are catered more towards the Western taste of renovations. You can find a link for this free cheat sheet in the description below. When it comes to the filters on these websites, they're a little bit different than the filters you might have seen on the MLS. For instance, you can filter by the number of bedrooms, but you can also filter by the number of rooms. Rooms doesn't include every room in the house. It's typically a living room plus the bedrooms. So if you select 3, 4, or 5 rooms, that means you're selecting either a 2-bedroom house plus living room, 3-bedroom plus living room, 4-bedroom plus living room, etc. You can also filter by the size of a house or apartment and the size of the land, the property itself. These are measured in meters squared in France, so you'll want to use a converter from meter squared to feet squared. Or in the case of land, you can convert from meters squared to acres. If, like me, you're interested in a property that is already generating income as a rental, some of the websites can allow you to filter specifically for this. One website in particular is the website for the agency Leggett. But if you're looking for an income property on some of the other websites, there are specific keywords you can use to search for properties that have income generating abilities. For instance, you could search the keyword gîte, which is a French term for a holiday rental property. You could also search for the terms grange or dépendance, which mean barn and just a outbuilding, respectively. A gîte may be an existing holiday rental home on the property, or it might be an outbuilding or a grange that can be converted into a gîte. Finally, if you are looking for an income property, you're going to want to make sure that you check the local and regional regulations and limitations on short-term rentals or longer-term rentals in the area where you're looking for homes to make sure that it's possible to do in your area and that the limitations on it still make it a financially viable option for you. If, for instance, you're only allowed to rent out that property short term for 120 days of the year, is that going to make enough income for what your goals are? The third lesson I've learned is about how to approach reaching out to real estate agents. Once you've found a property that you're interested in visiting, you're going to need to reach out to the real estate agent or the owner of the property if it's a for sale by owner listing to schedule a visit or to ask more questions. This could be tricky if you don't speak French and the listing is by a French real estate agent or it's by the owner themselves. So I've created a free email template that you can use to make that first outreach. You can find a link to it in the description box below. I developed this email template with a friend of mine who has been living in Paris for the past 10 years and therefore has a much more advanced level of French than I do, but there's also an English translation that accompanies the email so you can understand exactly how to cater it to your needs. Of course, it's a nice gesture to reach out in French to a real estate agent or owner, but if you don't speak any French yourself, make sure to confirm with them that any further correspondence can be conducted in English, or else you might find yourself stuck when you actually meet up in person to see the property. You can also use Google Translate to go back and forth in your email correspondence as you're setting up the viewing, but once you're there, you might need to hire a translator or even a property finder to help you navigate the process. Property finders are consultants you can hire to help you navigate the property buying process. They are locals who are familiar with that process, and because they're not real estate agents, their loyalties do not lie with the seller, and they can watch out for your interests in particular. They can also tour houses for you remotely if you don't have the ability to go over and make a trip to France, or they can even act as a power of attorney to sign the final papers for you. I'll be sharing a few of the French property finding consultants I've come across in an upcoming video, and I'm even hoping to interview a few of them, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that video. So now that you understand a little bit more about how real estate works in France, download my free list of websites to use in your property search, and also my free French email template for reaching out to real estate agents. They're both linked in the description box below to help you start your France house hunt. Drop me a note in the comments about what area of France you're looking for a house in, and I'll be back soon with more videos about finding and running your own vacation property in France. Until then, you can watch this series showcasing some of the houses I've toured in France so far. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.